hello.
How are you?
Yeah, good. How are you?
I'm good. It's nice to be with you.
I thought I'd start off in the feeding area.
Yes, please. Very important part of the coop.
It is very important.
It's not just the chicken who are cooped up at the moment. We live in cities because we like other people. So
Yeah.
when we can't see them, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
We have actually gone on holiday to a friend's house which was empty. So we live in a small flat without a garden, and we quarantined there for about 2 months, and then just decided to move 5 minutes down the road because our friends are not there and they have a small garden.
Oh, good plan. I mean, I wouldn't say we live here because we don't like people, but
But you do like chicken.
we do like chickens, and we do like the quiet.
Yeah, and you have space to make exhibitions.
Hey, make noise. I just thought, if we're here, we could have a look. 'Cause I haven't looked in the feeding trough to see whether your work is still in there. They won't.
I don't know. You have to be quite patient.
Yeah, because they haven't obviously. So there's some letters here, but as they.
Oh, I can see one.
Yeah. As they eating it, it obviously goes down.
Yeah.
And it's got dislodged, and it's no longer spelling out the word. But maybe it would be interesting to talk to you about, like, so my feeling before calling you, and I was thinking about like things you've done and stuff, and then suddenly I got a bit nervous about speaking to you because I was thinking about the work Strangers.
Yes.
And the idea of like holding a conversation at a distance in front of
absolutely.
an audience.
I think it's gained a whole different significance these last few weeks. That work, I've been thinking about it too. Obviously, because I work so much in performance, that is actually about social distance, in a sense. So, social glue. I mean, I don't really like the phrase social distance because I think, one of the things that has happened, or at least I have experienced, is I've gotten a lot closer to my neighbors who I didn't necessarily know so well through this period because we've been doing shopping for each other. We just had a small baby, so also people offered to bring stuff and have been dropping off stuff, and neighbors have been really kind when we've needed something. And so I haven't felt distance. It's physical distance. It's not social distance.
No.
And so, in a sense, I always thought of strangers as sort of a wink to what I used to call social glue. What brings you together with people that you don't necessarily have an intimate relationship with, and how sometimes celebrations are sort of a metaphor of how we could live together better or use social space better. But in this case, the loving act is to stay apart, which is very difficult.
Strange. And in that piece, it's relatively simple, isn't it? Two strangers holding a piece of bunting.
Yeah.
Does it change depending on where it's performed, how the distance? But it's a distance.
No, so that
really talk
it's 10 meters because that's what a bunting line is, and they have to hold it at a distance that they don't allow it to touch the floor, which is also a distance that actually doesn't allow for such a comfortable conversation. And it's usually performed by two people who have never met before. Yeah,
and I guess the line has connotations of like a telephone, and also
absolutely
because it's bunting, that's like a celebratory thing.
Yeah.
And also it reminds you of the flags and the sort of semaphore signs as well, which also crop up in your work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's cool. So all about communication.
Yeah, I guess togetherness. I don't know. I've thought about proxemics a lot in the past. I've never made a work about it, but proxemics is sort of the social science that studies the distance between people and what it means. You know, like seriously, like if a 1 meter distance is intimacy and 2 meter distance. And I've been thinking about how that's changed. You know, and in the sort of a more practical level, I have a couple of things coming up, which might be postponed indefinitely or might be resumed shortly, and but they were both performances and it included people. So I'm now thinking like, do I need to change the distance of the performers? And
and is it good enough to adapt it to some sort of technological?
Well, I mean, it could. I don't know. I mean, to be honest, I hope that after this, whenever that is, we're hungry for experience. And in the meantime, it's nice to be doing art.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, so the work that I made for your exhibition, which is, should we describe it just in case people haven't seen it?
Yeah, so you asked me to gather some of their food together. So they eat a mixture. They eat corn and they eat something called layers of pellets, which is, I don't know, that's made up by the chicken food manufacturing industry. And then he makes a bit of grit, sort of shell in there because they like to eat grit. And that all gets mixed up. And so for your work, I picked one up. I had to write on a grain, each grain a letter, and it would spell out "Eat my words."
Yes. Eat your words.
Eat your. Yeah, there was a bit of a.
No, it's good. So I wanted to talk to you about so the work. It's called Humility Lesson Number 2. So the idea is that the chicken will eat my words, basically.
Yeah.
And eating your words often sort of, it's something that you have to do because you've said something that you have to take out.
Yeah.
Which, it seems like the way that we treat animals and the way that we treat our environment is also biting back at us at the moment. And it's become a really important moment to think about that. So the first humility lesson was a work that I thought of because of an invitation that was extended to me, not by Yoko Ono herself, but Yoko Ono has a work which is called Water Event, in which herself or the curators of the exhibition, the Yoko Ono exhibition in this case, that was in Argentina, invited me to do a water event, which is basically a work or an artwork that has to do with water. And so the one that I made was called Humility Lesson. And it was basically, then ended up in a video, but it was a performance of me in Mexico City, this really busy intersection, like under a bridge, a highway bridge. But in Mexico, there's a lot of them all over the city. And so I'm standing there with my hands cupped together, holding some water. The video is shown with a text that says, wherever you might be, cup your hands and fill them with water. Patiently wait for a wild animal to come and drink from you. So it's this idea that we've driven everyone away. And so I thought that for this second invitation from you, to think about, domestication and to think about, what it, to think that we've been so, we think of ourselves as a species so highly, most of it is our ability to speak, for example.
Sure.
But sometimes words just only take you so far, no? And at this moment, it was really touching to get your invitation, actually, at a moment where a lot of things are being postponed and nothing is being made. I found it really refreshing that you would share with us your space, and so that chicken and making work for them suddenly became a lifeline.
Yeah, that's nice. It's nice to hear. So, in relation to the first humility lesson, then, who's the lesson? The lesson's for us, presumably. Then.
The lesson is for us, and I think the lesson is also for us, not for the chicken in this case.
What do you think the chickens would kind of make of that gesture?
I mean, in a sense, we've made them dependent, so they could think that they are the ones that are being sort of subjected to these words, no? But the way that I was thinking about it was less of a punishment, but this sort of that we're trapped in this relationship with nature that we've created, that is that of dependency.
Yeah.
You know, it's sort of a proposition or a question. It's not a very sophisticated thought. It's just a small gesture.
Yeah, but that's from small things. I want talking of small things, because this isn't the first time you've made work for a non-human audience. That's true. I had the great honor, like this one has been, to be invited to do a solo show in the NUMU, which is the new museum in Guatemala City. And this is a museum that I think it is the biggest, it has the biggest number of visitors in relationship to the square footage. It is only 3 meters diameter museum, and it's shaped in the shape of an egg. So it's a giant sort of egg. It used to be an egg shop, and this artist, curator, museum director called Stefan Bentrum and Jessica Caire, another Guatemalan artist, started this new museum and took it over. So it's a small sort of egg in the middle of the city, and I was invited to do a solo show there, and it's obviously a very small space, and it reminded me of these eggs that I had seen before in Dali's house in Portellat, in near Cadaqués in Spain. Yeah.
And you know, Dali is one of those artists that I really like. I think maybe like everybody else when I was a teenager, and then as I became more interested in art, I became less interested in his work because it feels like mainstream and not so interesting. And then when I went to visit his house in Portellat, I felt for him again. I realized that actually a lot of that his house exuded his work, that it felt authentic and that he had a way of living that was in keeping with his work. And so I sort of rediscovered him somehow. And one of the things that he had in this house were a lot of giant eggs in the terraces every now and then, because that had been sort of a leitmotif or a recurrent figure in his work. But he also had these incredible cricket houses. I think it's a tradition also in China to keep crickets in your house so you get their song. So he had like this, basically their little cages. And so I started thinking about the eggs and Dali, and so there was a small shelf inside of the museum. So I did a retrospective of my work in miniature for crickets. So we basically bought some crickets from a pet shop, which they're usually food. Mm-hmm. So we
snakes.
For snakes and things, exactly. So we saved them and brought them into the exhibition, and then their sound was amplified, and it was broadcasted from the top of the egg, so you could hear the cricket song. And then inside there was a sort of my biggest hits retrospective made in miniature for them. And then on the other side of the shop there was this sort of a small miniature exhibition of one of my favorite works by Dali, which are these sort of watercolors that he'd done of nature, or botanical illustrations. So yeah, but that was my first show for animals, and this is my second one.
So they were sort of inhabiting it and walking around and sitting on top of things. And
yeah, so the crickets were there, I guess. Yeah. They just hung out. We had to put some sponges and keep them fed. The way that the museum works is that there's a woman who runs a shop there and has a key. So she would come and feed them, and just they hung out there, I guess. And then at the end, they just left.
And was that as sort of closed to the public as this is, or were people able to really sort of see inside and see what was going on?
Well, this was before the age of social distance, so yeah, people could go. I mean, the museum itself is you can enter maybe two people are a bit uncomfortable unless you want to be really intimate with someone. So it is like a perfect scenario of a sort of a show for very few people. But yeah, you could see the exhibition from the window. So if you check, I really encourage everybody to check out the Guatemalan museum. And the woman that used to run it as an egg shop obviously had to sell eggs. So there's a little window, and you could hear inside and see the exhibition for cricket. So it wasn't exclusively for crickets, like yours very much. Can also be shared with humans.
Exactly, yeah, through the outreach program.
Yeah, and now I'm going to ask you questions. What made you want to make an exhibition for your chicken? What is it that you like about it so much, or that you thought would be?
Well, it was quite a sort of. I hadn't been thinking about it for a long time. I think I just had the idea one night in bed probably, and instead of ignoring it, I wrote it down, and it was sort of.
And you didn't forget it?
No, and I thought it's funny. I don't know. I just thought it and then did it, and that's not a usual. I've never done that. So this was 2 weeks ago, maybe just over. So we've been in lockdown for a little bit.
Yeah.
I was, to be honest, in a bit of a rut before lockdown. I wasn't really enjoying myself, for a long time. And then lockdown started, and it was, obviously difficult and freaky and all that.
Yeah.
But I actually started weirdly sort of feeling a bit better and wanting to, not only enjoying lockdown, but also wanting to get back in touch with people. And I've been off Instagram. I hadn't been on Instagram since Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought, maybe that's, in the same way that it's bad for teenagers with body image issues. It's bad. It's bad for anyone who sort of feels a bit worse every time they just go and do something and see what cool, exciting stuff people are doing. And so I thought that's an opportunity. I won't just go back on Instagram and feel depressed. I'll go back on, say I'm doing an exhibition for chickens, and then I sort of rationalised it afterwards, thinking that this is something that no one else has done. So I can't really compare it. I can't feel inferior to the exhibition for chickens that took place in Pellets, in 2014.
The MoMA for chickens.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people will relate to this. Obviously, the pandemic is tragic and it's disaster, and I think it's been handled here disastrously.
Yeah.
It also has given a lot of us back some time. And, it has sort of reduced the means that you have to make things, and that can also be somehow refreshing.
Yeah,
and I think humor becomes so important in times like this, and it's not because anything of this is remotely funny, but it is because it's a way of coping with things, and it's a way.
Yeah, I think it is funny. I think it is sort of funny. It's not a joke. I think that's the important thing. And
no, I meant the exhibition is funny.
Yeah.
I meant the pandemic. There's nothing funny about the situation.
No, but there's always humour in chaos, and
it's so important.
Yeah, I'm worried now because of this, the way it's being handled. It's like now I don't even really know if we're still in lockdown.
No, I think what it means is if you can afford it, you can stay home and be safe. Yeah. And if you can't afford it, then you're fending off for yourself. This is a moment where the given structure and the status quo could be questioned.
It's back being framed as an economic thing now. They're like, well, you've had your sort of time off, get back.
Yeah.
In some ways, like a lot of artists will be itching to get back to doing stuff and doing shows. But for me, it sort of felt this was my opportunity to do something creative. That's now that's it now.
I think we're going to have to live with the virus for a few months or years, and this will be, something that nobody can take away from you, and that it will change. It will change us. It has to change us.
Yeah.
Exactly. And what you having come out of it at the other end, having done something that's interesting and funny, and that I think, there's a lot of people joining in this conversation. Hello, everybody. It's also sort of, you've opened up a space for other people, which I think is very nice. And I'm sure your chicken will be eternally grateful for this cultural experience.
They've been, just thinking there's a goat behaving kind of oddly.
Oh, what are they doing? Have they eaten all the exhibition? Your goat?
Yeah, they've eaten.
Are they yours?
Yeah. Along that fence, all the work was up, and you can see it kind of on the floor there.
Yeah, I saw images of the opening.
So they've just ripped it down, and they've eaten some of it. They left it for quite a long time, and then I think they just had enough. So maybe they're jealous of the chickens. I think,
I've had a traumatic experience with a goat myself.
Did you?
Yes, I don't trust them.
What did they do, if you don't mind me asking?
When I was a teenager, I was chased. I was with 3 friends, and we had, so I'm from the North Patagonia, and there was this island that you could access with I don't know, it's a raft. It's just, you could get on it with 1 or 2 cars, and you would cross it to the other end, but we didn't have a car. We crossed, and then we overstayed, and we were about to miss the one back. And there was this goat so we started running, and there was this goat that was following us, sort of parallel to us, and then it stood across from us, and it just looked at us and ejaculated.
Oh my god.
It was really traumatic.
Yeah. Wow.
Goats, they're funny things. And also they like to hang out on top of cars.
They like climbing. These are both sweet. They're both female.
So what did they think about the art?
Tasty. I mean, obviously, like HP made delicious ink paper. They've ingested most of it. And then I've got, I don't know, like, I honestly don't know what they think about the art. But I don't know if they like anything. I don't know if they have that sort of, if they can sort of enjoy something that isn't food, or perhaps, I don't know, just sitting on eggs. They like sitting on eggs. I mean, that's the thing, I think.
They like sitting on eggs?
Yeah, I think they do. They seem...
I did this project with a primatologist called Volker Sommer. He is the head, or was until recently the head of evolutionary anthropology in UCL. And he ran these place in Nigeria where they observe remotely, they observe chimpanzees. They reached out to invite me to go to Nigeria and make work with these tools that were made by chimpanzees. And by tools, they're really just twigs. But basically, the first time that anybody saw a chimp getting a twig off a tree, stripping it from leaves, biting the end off and feeding honey out of a tree, and using it to eat, was Jane Goodall. This is one of the reasons why Jane Goodall is so appreciated in the scientific world. She had gone to Tanzania to observe chimps, and so she was the first one to see a chimp do this. And at the time, which was before DNA, it was like, it challenged all preconceptions, because the Homo faber man was the only animal that was thought to create his own tools and modify the world with his own tools. But one of the things that's interesting about it is that these chimpanzees in Nigeria use, they use twigs that are stripped from leaves, and they lick them and they stick them down ant holes and wait for ants to crawl, and then they eat them.
Right.
And then, what's interesting about it is these have never been observed before, because chimpanzees don't exhibit this behavior in captivity. So it's not something that is instinctive to them, but it is something that they learn from their mothers. And chimpanzees in Nigeria eat different ants in different ways than chimpanzees in Tanzania, which could suggest some sort of local transmission of knowledge or sort of proto-culture, some sort of animal culture. Not only that, but it also ants don't really have enough nutritional value for that to be something that they should be spending that much energy. They spend hours fishing ants and eating ants, and which also
they enjoy doing it.
Exactly. So there is something that they do because they find pleasure in it. So
yeah, I mean the goats definitely play. I mean that is a bit.
Saying hello to my friend Mariana.
Hi Mariana. Yeah, the goats enjoy playing. And sort of mimicking us if we're running in a particular way. They sort of run along and skip or jump. As just a chicken eating from your...
Come on, eat my words, chicken. Eat my words.
My words. Are they my words or your words? That's the other...
I think they're your words. That's why it worked.
Because I wrote... well, the second one is mine.
Yes, exactly.
All right. Well, I mean, I could talk for longer, but I think we should wrap it up because.
Okay, let's wrap it up. I also wanted to thank you again. It's been an honor for me to be.
Oh, thank you so much. It's an honor for me, like us and chickens. But there's no feeling like not just you, of course, but having people respond and send and think. Especially when people have given so much thought to it.
It's been something that not only filled your days, but it also gave other people, stuff to think about, and even if just something little to contribute, it's been, an interesting way of engaging with the world, which at the moment can be a difficult place.
Yeah, definitely. Great. Well, thanks again, and there will be more things. And this talk, if anyone joined late, I will save it using a very convoluted process, which you don't know about, but it will be saved.
Yeah, I was impressed by seeing that you had a little YouTube archive. That is impressive.
There's an archive. It'll all be added. So this talk will probably be on there in a couple of days. But once again, just thanks everyone for joining us, and thank you, Amalia, and hopefully see you soon, and good luck with your baby, and
thank you.
Lovely.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye. Nice to see everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.